To take a look at this massive tugboat.
The Southern African shipyard scooped the contract. Their task is to build 9 tugboats. These new powerful tugs are expected to improve operational efficiency and safety at various ports.
This contract we have for Transnet, which is for 9 tugs, of which we have delivered 6 to date. The 7th tug is in the water at this point in time being commissioned. The second to last tug will be launched on the 17th of November, and the last tug will be handed over on the 30th of March 2018.
Job creation and skills development are key.
It's changed the lives of many people. We've created 2,000 indirect jobs, 600 direct jobs. We've trained 60 apprentices, of which 10 are female. And the workers in this company have a 12% stake in the company. And their lives are so much different because of this project.
The Operation Phakisa Oceans Economy Initiative was launched 3 years ago as a results-driven approach to development.
We are excited about what we have seen since the beginning of Operation Phakisa. So far, since the commencement, we have spent about 76.2 million rands. We have created about 200 jobs.
It's expertise like this that demonstrates South Africa's ability to compete in the global shipbuilding industry. Blaine Herman, SABC News, Durban.
Very fascinating piece there. Thanks so much to Blaine Herman. Now, where we're broadcasting from, I must say, this is one of the busiest ports in Southern Africa, where the Operation Phakisa Presidential event is expected to take place a little later on today. The concept basically focuses on unlocking the potential of South Africa's oceans, which could contribute up to 177 billion rand to our GDP by 2033. That's the big aim. But how much has it contributed so far, and where are we sitting at with some of the activities and programs in place with Operation Phakisa Active? We're joined by the Minister of Environmental Affairs, Dr Edna Molewa, to try and shed some light on that. Good to see you, Minister. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, Leanne, and thanks for having us.
So let's give a little bit of context for Operation Phakisa. It was envisioned in 2010, implemented in 2012. How are we doing so far?
Well, we are very glad that actually President Zuma came in and said we are actually having a coastal line of just under 4,000 kilometers. The longest that we can find in any other country, relatively speaking. And we are not using it. And when we started planning in 2010 about what else can we do, we looked at the economics aspects of it, modeling what can be done. We came up with 9 sectors. But of those 9 sectors, we selected 4 that are immediately doable. And those are the ones that we are coming to showcase here today. But we subsequently added others, like, for instance, where we are with the cruising, coastal tourism has been added since then, expansion of harbors in particular, because remember, this is a port. We have small harbors, 12 of them, that are actually not being used at all. So we're focusing on infrastructure as well. And all these are actually supported by strong development of infrastructure so that we can expand these ports. There are activities, for instance, like all these ships that are landing here, about 360,000 of them, at any given time over a year, are not actually being serviced here. They're serviced elsewhere. And that's a lot of money. So we looked at that. We looked at boat building. We looked at manufacturing at the port itself. We looked at aquaculture, development space. We looked at oil and gas in the ocean itself, which we have not been harvesting. So those sectors are now on track. We are expecting the President today to tell the nation about how far we have come. Yeah. We've made great strides, that I can say with confidence, but it's not only one department, and this is actually where we learn something of working in an integrated manner. Because Department A here is here, Minister Brown works with others. What does she need as support? For instance, your licensing, authorizations, those kinds of things. They used to delay business. Some of the people told us, for instance, that to actually get one license of aquaculture, it takes you 3 years to knock on one door and another another and another. Now, it's far less than 3 years. The president will tell us far, far, far less, even close to a year or so, will tell us later. So those things have been short-circuited, and the developments are happening. Investments is quite a lot that's happening right now.
I want to talk about the oceans economy. As it stands right now, if we look at the last financial year, how much did the oceans economy contribute to our overall GDP?
That's what the president is going to be
He's going to be updating.
Yeah, that's he's going to be updating us about. But I can actually say, just for those who are requiring appetite to watch the space out there, it's enormous. I mean, in a space of about 2.5, 3 years, we didn't believe that we could do such a contribution. Remember, we're targeting 1 million jobs. By that the 20th you mentioned, by the 2033, 177 billion investments are already in the oil and gas space. There are activities happening. We are increasing and expanding on some of the ports here in Durban Port. We are expanding in Nelson Mandela Bay, in Saldanha, and all those. And what's good about this is that we celebrate the fact that for the first time after many years where everything had stopped, we are working with private sector. They are bringing these investments, they are operating, and they're quite happy. They do tell us where things are going on wrong, where there's a hitch, and then we unlock it, and then we move on.
So obviously the idea is to make as much money as we possibly can, but sometimes to the detriment of the environment. And this is where I want to bring you into it, because the idea is not to destroy the environment, because this is the ocean. This is a very precious resource. With already we are seeing so much damage being done to the marine life, to the oceans, the pollution. Well, what are we doing to make money and yet protect the oceans?
The policy that we subscribe to, Leanne, very fortunate as South Africans, that of sustainable development, sustainable utilization of our natural resources, meaning that everything has got to be at a balance all the time. It has to be that when we do development, it's not at the detriment of environment. And therefore what happens? Pillar number 4 is oceans governance. And that's what everything stands on. Whether we do oil and gas, we talk about marine aquaculture, we talk about these boats that we're building and so forth. Everything has got to be environment compliant. That's why we have governance. And therefore we have also decided at the lab, this is oceans governance has got its own program, a 3-feet plan. We have decided to look at areas where we should actually be putting in nurseries for our fish stock never to be depleted. Now we're putting 22 MPAs. We're looking at disaster management, early warning systems. We're looking in the environment space also what can pollute and where the potential pollution is, so that ahead of time in the 3-feet plan we're saying these are the mitigating circumstances or things that we should do and must do to avoid or even to mitigate where it has already happened. So that plan is fully in place of environmental management as well.
Minister, thank you. Enjoy today. Enjoy being here. It's actually quite tranquil, I must say, even though we are surrounded by big vessels, which translates into lots of money for South Africa. The more we have, the better it is.
Prosperous. Let's safe environment. Thank you.
Thanks, Minister. Always great chatting to you. Minister of Environmental Affairs here in South Africa, Edna Molewa, talking to us about the oceans economy, Operation Phakisa. But more importantly, it's that sustainable development that's taking place. Sustainability of our environment must not be ruined just for the cause of money. But that's a discussion that we'll continue to have. Let's take a break. When we return, Minister Lynn Brown is here. We'll chat to her as well. Stay tuned.